Good morning, everyone. Welcome to First Church of Religious Science here in New York City. We're grateful to have you all with us. Grateful for those of you who joined us this morning for the meditation. Whether you're joining us live on the Zoom or watching us later in the day on Facebook, Spotify, Instagram, YouTube, we're glad you're a part of our broadcast. This is a community, a virtual community of deep thinkers, spiritual explorers, and everyday practitioners and visionaries like yourself. Everyone, or most everyone who shows up is committed to living with more joy, more power, and more truth. We welcome people from every background, identity, spiritual path, whether this is your first Sunday with us or your 50th, you're invited, you belong here. A quick reminder, every single week, again, we meet like now, Sunday mornings. We start with the meditation at 10:45, then the lesson, which is beginning now. And then every Wednesday, we have a broadcast at 7 p.m., which is our Creative Living series, which James, our practitioner, hosts for you, facilitates. And then I facilitate our ongoing Louise self-healing class, which I've been doing for many years. It's a very large class. I invite everybody to attend. If you'd like to support the work we do at the center, we're really thrilled if you can. There are support options in the chat. You'll see them. Also on all the social media platforms. Everything we do here is on the basis of love offering, which means there's no charge. No one's under any obligation. However, if you'd like to support our work, there's options to do so, or you could simply mail a check to the church. That's First Church, 204 West 84th Street, New York, New York, 10024. So I want to say something to you before we begin. Today we're talking about countdown to success. So you're on the launch pad, if you can imagine. You're free, you're powerful, you're right on time. The countdown has already begun. So the real question is, are you ready to ignite? Are you ready to rise into your next level? Are you ready to launch? In March of this year, something extraordinary happened. 2 astronauts had been stranded at the International Space Station due to long delays with their return. The SpaceX crew and returned them safely to Earth. And I was thinking about that. It's kind of a metaphor for our lives. Sometimes we get stuck in outer space in orbit, circling a problem, maybe a decision or a dream. We get stuck around something that hasn't quite taken flight. But then comes that moment when something shifts. And then the countdown begins. A sequence starts moving within us. And before we know it, we're being lifted by something greater. So today I want to ask everyone, where in your life are you stuck on the launch pad? Where are you circling around something that's already trying to lift you up? What dream, what breakthrough, what next level experience is waiting for you to say, all systems go? Today, we begin your personal countdown to success. Not next week, not after Mercury goes direct, or not when things calm down, but right now. And it starts not by you doing more, it starts by you getting connected and aligning with more. Let's talk about something that might feel a little uncomfortable at first, but it's necessary for your liftoff. The word entitlement. That word can carry some baggage. We're told not to be entitled. We're also told not to expect too much, not to assume anything that is owed to us. But in spiritual truth, I want to mention, it means something very different. You are spiritually entitled. You are entitled to support. You're entitled to peace. You are entitled to success, to fulfillment. You're certainly entitled to joy. And then there's always guidance. You are one with guidance. So you're entitled to guidance. Now, most people don't know that they're entitled to anything, really. They've been trained into spiritual poverty and spiritual poverty thinking. They've been told that success is for other people. They've been conditioned to believe that asking for more is in some way selfish. And sure, it can sound noble to say, just be grateful for what you have. But beneath that message is often a quiet instruction to expect less and to settle for less. But that's not the truth. That's not what we teach here. The truth is, you were never meant to struggle. You are allowed to want more. You are allowed to rise. You are allowed to be supported. You are allowed to feel good. You are allowed to have peace, clarity, and abundance. You can say to yourself, I deserve it. I'm one with it. You are allowed to have peace, clarity, and abundance. And you're not taking someone else's when you step into your own. You're not living in a limited universe. You're living in an abundant universe. And life will expand when you expand. Let's affirm this together. I'm a child of the universe, richly endowed with the fullness of all good. Again, I'm the child of the universe, richly endowed with the fullness of all good. I no longer resist the flow. I release unworthiness. I stand in my spiritual inheritance. I am ready to receive. Now, here's where things start to shift. Once you know you're entitled to good, you've got to train your thoughts to support it. Once you know that you are one with it, then it's simply a matter of training yourself with the ideas, the thoughts to support it. Most people think their thoughts are just reactions. They might think, I feel scared because things are so scary. I feel scared. I think lack because I don't have enough. I feel stuck because nothing seems to be changing. But the truth is, your life isn't happening to you. It's happening through you. Really an important distinction for us to make. Your life isn't happening to you. It's happening through you, through your consciousness. So that goes back to the whole thing with Louise. Hey, what are you approaching the ocean of life with? It can only give you what your capacity to receive is. So your life isn't happening to you. It's happening through you. You're not just reacting to reality. You're generating it through your own consciousness. So that's not blame. That's power. Ernest Holmes said, change your thinking and you will change your life. And that's not just a slogan. It's a spiritual law. Think of two people walking into the exact same opportunity. Same interview, same stage, same business proposition. One person walks in with a mind thinking, what if this goes wrong? And what if that goes wrong? And the other person walks into this interview with, this might be great. This sounds exciting. One person is filled with fear. The other is filled with clarity and confidence. Same opportunity, but very different results because the thinker sets the tone. Now, you may not always control what shows up, but you can always control how you name it, how you interpret what shows up. You can say, this is too hard. This is unbelievable. This is too hard. Or you can say, this is stretching me into something great. You can say, nothing ever works for me. Or you can say, something better is being born here. I know there's good happening here. See, that's the difference between people living on autopilot and people living on purpose. So let's say this together. My mind is my sacred space. Again, because you have so much power. When you live in connection, you can say, my mind is my sacred space. I choose thoughts that empower and uplift. I no longer run on fear loops. I run on spiritual clarity. So that's a great affirmation. My mind is my sacred space. I choose thoughts that empower and uplift. And I want to release the fear because I no longer run on fear loops. I run on spiritual clarity. And another great affirmation, I am the thinker who thinks the thought. I am the gatekeeper. I align my thoughts with success. I align myself with the thoughts of success that I want, that I'm ready to receive. So let's take this a little bit deeper. Have you ever thought of success is something really natural, not rare, not lucky, not reserved for the lucky, for the chosen few. But have you ever thought of success as something being totally natural? Because that's what it is. Success is very natural if your consciousness allows it. Elbert Hubbard said, "Success is the most natural thing in the world. The person who does not succeed has placed themselves in opposition to the laws of the universe." Most people think success is something to chase after, to fight for, to hope for, if they're lucky enough or chosen. But spiritual success doesn't happen by luck. It happens by connection, by alignment. Success responds to your will, to your consciousness, not your force, not your stress, not your hustle till you collapse. Success responds to your decision, your realization of who you are. It's your clear, your steady inner voice that says, "This is who I am right now. This is what I claim." So let me ask you, do you see yourself as a success type? Do you catch yourself thinking, nothing ever works out for me? Do you stop that stuff if it ever comes up? Do you catch yourself when you're going towards the negative? When you say, "I'm just not that kind of person," or "it's too late for me," or "I'm not like them," do you catch yourself? If you see yourself thinking any of those thoughts, stop and tell yourself that's not the truth. That's programming. You'll never rise. This is an important line. You will never rise higher than your own self-image. That's why I always loved Emerson, who suggested that we hitch our wagon to the stars, to the biggest ideas. Don't shoot for the molehills. Shoot for the stars. So success doesn't make you confident. Confidence attracts success. Winning doesn't make you believe. You believe, and then you start to win. So let's talk about something no one escapes in life. Challenges, setbacks, occasional defeats, moments that knock the wind right out of us, seasons where nothing seems to be going our way. If you're alive, most of you have had or experienced some of those times. But here's the difference between people who rise, who work this teaching, and people who stay stuck. It's not about avoiding the setbacks. It's about discovering your power, the power you have when they happen. Because the successful person isn't someone who's never been knocked down. The successful person is the one who's learned how to stand up, stand back up, wiser, stronger, and more focused than before. So I invite you to say this with me. I may experience defeat, but I will never be defeated. That right there is a great mental shift. A defeat is an event. Defeated is an identity. And we're not interested in wearing defeat as our identity. You might lose a job. You go through a heartbreak. Your plans may fall apart. The diagnosis you fear arrives. The person you trusted lets you down. And your first reaction might be to crumble and to say, "Why me? Why me?" And to sink into the energy of, "I can't take this. I can't endure this anymore." But the fact is, you can. Here you are. You are here. You're still standing. You're still breathing. You're still searching for truth. So let's honor that. Let's honor how strong you are. That strength. Because whether you know it or you don't, or whether you've noticed it, you've already been coping. You're learning, you're a great success, even though many times we don't think of ourselves as that. Whether you've noticed it or not, there is a strength in you that hasn't left you yet. So let's redefine our strength and our coping. When most people hear the word cope, they think of just barely getting by. They think of surviving, managing, enduring. But I want to give you a new definition of the word coping. Coping is your spiritual power to take what happens and to use it as material for your rise. It's the decision to stay open no matter what. It's the courage to say, "I'm going to find the good in this, even if I can't see it yet." And now that doesn't mean you have to like what happened. It doesn't mean you wanted it, but it means that you are bigger than the event. You're stronger than the setback. You're more powerful than the pain. Aldous Huxley said, "Experience is not what happens to you. It's what you do with what happens to you." Let me repeat that. It's not what happens to you. It's what you do with what happens. The power isn't in the circumstance, the thing you're going through. It's always going to be in your response. Here's a simple practice all of us can use. Every time life seems to throw us off, picture a small stone, like a pebble. Hold it in front of your eye. Keep one eye closed. When that stone is right up close against your vision, it blocks everything. It's all you can see. You can't see the horizon. You can't see the sky. All you see is the problem. Now move that stone out arm's length. It's still there, but now you can see around it. You can gain some perspective. Finally, you drop the stone on the ground. Let it now become part of your path. You don't have to carry every problem. You don't have to stare at every difficulty. Some of those stones, they're stepping stones. The psalmist said, "Thou hast set all things under your feet." Let that sink in. Thou hast set all things under your feet. Not some things, not just the easy things, all things. If there's one thing that shapes your destiny more than any other internal factor, it's your self-image. That's one of the reasons we spend so much time with Louise Hay's work. It isn't what you show to the world. It's not what you post online either. It's not what you say in a job interview. It's what you really believe about yourself when nobody's watching. Because here's the truth. You're always going to live into the identity you secretly believe is yours. As within, so without. Your life is always going to be a reflection of your inner state of being. You're always going to live into the identity that you secretly believe is yours. When you wake up in the morning, what do you expect of yourself? Are you expecting success? Or are you expecting failure? Are you expecting things to work out? Are you knowing things are going to work out? Or are you expecting they're going to fall apart? Do you expect to be loved? Or do you expect to be disappointed? Do you expect to be appreciated or ignored? Most people don't even realize that they have this inner script running 24 hours a day, but it's there. It's always there. And that script says things like, "I always mess up. I always mess things up." Or "I don't deserve anything good." Or "I don't deserve anything too good." Or "I'm not as confident as other people. I'm just getting by. I'm just hanging on." And guess what? Life takes its cue from the image that you're holding. You can work hard. You can read every self-help book that there is. You can attend every single seminar. You can speak every single affirmation. But if deep, deep down, you still see yourself as small, broken, and unworthy and cursed or whatever worse, then your life is always going to bend back towards that inner belief. That's why this step in our countdown today is so important. If you want to rise, you must lift the image you hold of yourself. This isn't about ego ever. This is not about pretending. This is not about forcing fake confidence. And it's definitely not about trying to be like anyone else. It's about recognizing who you've always been, but maybe you've never allowed yourself to be. You don't need to get a bigger you don't need to get a better self-image. You need only to remember the truth of who you really are. You hear me speak every week. I'm one with the one. There is one power, one love in the universe, and I'm one with that power. You just need to remember the truth of what you are. Scripture says, you are made in the image and likeness of God. That's not a metaphor. That's spiritual DNA. You were never meant to think small. You were never meant to feel invisible or to shrink yourself to fit into someone else's expectations. You, and I'm talking everyone on this call, are radiant, intelligent, a powerful center of consciousness. But you must be willing to look into that mirror, not with judgment, but with appreciation, with truth, with a recognition of who and what you are, and say, this is who I really am. Not the old story I've been saying, not the old wound I've been repeating, not the old fears, but I am a being of light. I'm a being of light with divine inheritance. So think about it. If you see yourself as unworthy, you're going to act that way. If you see yourself as an imposter, you're going to sabotage yourself. If you see yourself as incapable, you won't take the risk. But if you see yourself as capable, and if you see yourself as evolving, and you see yourself as a spiritually guided person, then you're going to start showing up like that, even before you feel 100% ready. And that's the secret. You don't become ready and then believe in yourself. You believe in yourself, and that belief brings readiness. Something powerful happens when you start saying yes to life, when you start saying yes to new opportunities, when you start saying yes to the good you see in others, where you recognize it, when you start to say yes to the greatness that's within you, even if it scares you to do it, even if a voice whispers, but who am I to dream that big? You are you, and you are enough. You were designed to expand. Your soul is ready to take off. Your soul is ready to take the limits off your old identity as well. Let it do it. Here's something else. Successful people don't just happen to be optimistic. They train their self-image to match the life that they're choosing. And you can do that as well. Each day you can say to yourself, I am not who I was. I am who I am becoming. So let's affirm together. I am made in the image of the infinite. I say yes to more life, better life. I lift the image I hold of myself. I no longer identify with failure or fear. I see myself as capable, confident, and spiritually supported. I rise. I rise into who I truly am. So let's talk for a moment about connection. Something I talk about quite a bit. Are you coming from connection? But in this sense, let's talk about connections. We've all heard, we've heard it said, well, they have connections. They have good connections, right? And yes, sometimes success can come through the right people and doors being open to you. But here's a deeper truth. You already have the most powerful connection that you can ever have. You have a direct line to the infinite, a direct line to spirit, to creative intelligence, to the source of all wisdom, all goods, all supply, all guidance. You're not missing anything. You're hooked up to it. You're not cut off. You're entirely plugged in. You might forget. You might get distracted with the noise of the world and the busyness of life and your attraction to the things outside of yourself, but your connection never, never goes away. I'm going to quote Isaiah 26 here, and it says, Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on thee. That's really a beautiful quote. Thou wilt keep him or her in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on thee. Not whose life is perfect, but whose mind is centered and focused and aligned with the one. When your mind is doing that, peace definitely has to follow. Synchronicity follows. Guidance is yours, returns. And the universe is never asking you to figure everything out either. You're not expected to muscle through it, every dilemma. That's doing it the hard way for sure. The higher way looks something like this. I know I'm connected. I know I'm supplied. I know I'm supported. I'm not alone in this. And when you remember that, you stop grasping, you move, you make your moves in trust, you listen, you let things unfold. In real life, this looks like sitting in silence before reacting to with an email. You might ask yourself, what's the most loving thing I can do here before I respond in conflict? Or aligning myself with spirit, right? Trusting that you don't need to have all the answers and you don't need to have the last word. You just need to know how to take the next step. Outer networking can help, but inner networking sustains you when the road gets rough. Remember, you're connected to the divine wisdom, infinite supply, spiritual law. You're connected to the intelligence of life itself. Why not use that? Every time you feel uncertain, say to yourself, let me call in clarity, or let me go within and connect with clarity. Let me remember that I'm not doing this alone. Invite spirit in. As my dad used to say, it won't be the uninvited guest. So invite it in. You don't have to shout. You don't have to earn it. You just have to remember that you have it. Remember it. The world may say, push harder, impress more people. Spirit says, flow over force, connection over competition, the awareness of presence over pressure. So let's affirm, I'm spiritually connected. I'm guided and supported. I'm resourced. I don't walk alone. I walk with an infinite intelligence. I remember my connection, and I move through life with ease, confidence, and peace. And I want to talk a word about elevation, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Because we forget who we are. When we forget who we are, we shrink. We spiral downward. We sink into heaviness, frustration, or fear. You are not designed to live below the line. There's a higher region of consciousness where peace, possibility, and power are always available to you. This part of our countdown today is about training our inner climate to lift. We're here to be lifters, as I have said to you for many weeks. No matter what's happening around you, you're here to be a lifter. Job said it best. When they cast thee down, thou shalt say, there is lifting up. Now that's not just a quote, that's a choice. When they cast you down, you shall say, there is lifting up. That's not a quote, it's a choice, it's a declaration. The moment you say, there is lifting up, you shift everything. The challenge might still be there, but you stop giving it the final word. John Milton wrote, the mind is its own place, and in itself it can make a heaven out of hell, or it can make a hell out of heaven. Life isn't just what happens. It's how you name it. It's how you perceive it. It's how you frame it. It's how you carry it. It's how you respond to it. So ask yourself, am I naming this moment as a problem, or am I naming this moment as a possibility? See, it's entirely up to you. Are you naming this moment as a problem, or are you naming this moment as a possibility, as a punishment? Or do you look at it as an invitation to rise? Shift your language and your perception, and you will shift your altitude. So let's affirm, I lift my consciousness. I see everything through the eyes of possibility. Even when life feels heavy, I say, there is lifting up. I rise above reaction, and I walk in the truth. I walk in revelation. I keep myself above the line. Here we are. All systems go. You've claimed your worth today. You've taken care of your thoughts. You've remembered your connection. You've found your strength. You've raised your vibration. And now there's just one more element to fuel your liftoff, and that is enthusiasm, because nothing ever great takes off without it. Emerson said, nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm. Not hype, not nervous energy, but deep, sacred fire within. The sacred fire within you that says yes to life. So where does enthusiasm come from? The word from Greek, entheos, which means God within, or filled with the divine. Enthusiasm is not a mood. It is a state of enlightenment. It happens when you remember who you are. When you reconnect with that inner flame that will never go out. Enthusiasm is not the result of things going well. It's the cause of things going well. The enthusiastic speaker reaches the audience. The enthusiastic business person attracts investors. The enthusiastic friends makes others feel seen. The enthusiastic soul opens doors that effort alone could never unlock. Enthusiasm is contagious. It activates creativity. It stirs new ideas. It brings favor, flow, and fire. So if your enthusiasm feels flat, ask yourself, am I waiting for permission to get excited about life? Am I positioning joy, Or no, am I postponing joy until things improve? Have I been carrying so much heaviness that I've forgotten how to glow? You're not here to get through the day. You're here to ignite the day. The spark is still in you. You were born with this spark. You see it in children. You see it in artists. You see it in anyone who's fully present. The tragedy is that many people die with their music still inside them, not because they weren't gifted, but because they never let themselves light up all the way. Not anymore. Today, this is your launch window. If you take nothing else from today's lesson, take this. I'm alive, I'm awake, I'm alert, I'm joyous, and I'm enthusiastic about life. Try saying it aloud right now. One more time. I'm alive, awake, alert, joyous, and enthusiastic about life. It's nearly impossible to say it and stay low. That affirmation has launched thousands of days with power. Let it launch yours. Before you check your phone, before the emails, before the headlines, the noise, the pause, do that. Get still. Breathe. Declare your enthusiasm every day. Not because everything's perfect, but because you are aligned. You woke up. You're still here and you're connecting to something infinite. So let's affirm together one last time. I'm alive. I'm awake, alert, joyous, and enthusiastic about life. The divine moves through me. My enthusiasm is not dependent on circumstances. It is cause. It's not an effect. Again, my enthusiasm is not dependent upon circumstances. It is cause. It's not an effect. I show up with fire, with love, with light. All systems are go. You're ready, you're clear, you're connected, and you're no longer playing small. Liftoff begins right now. So let's take a moment to anchor this entire message with a closing affirmative prayer. Join with me. Today, I recognize the power within me. I recognize that I'm not separate from life. I'm one with it. I'm connected to it. I'm connected to a universe that is intelligent, responsive, and always on time. I claim my place in this field of infinite possibility. I release the weight of unworthiness. I let go of fear, smallness, and delay. I allow my consciousness to lift, to align with my higher truth. I declare that something powerful is happening in me right now. I'm not waiting for conditions to change. I am the change. I am the spark. I am the liftoff. Divine clarity surrounds me. Right action moves through me. Joy fills me. And I walk forward, supported by an intelligence that knows exactly where I belong. I give thanks for this day, for this teaching, this amazing community. And so it is. So now, thank you all for being here. So it is. We're going to turn the cameras over to all of you. Anybody who's new, please say hello. We'd love to welcome you. There's a couple minutes for everybody. You can raise your hands, or we try to call on people. So again, thank you for being here, and looking forward to hearing what came up for you today.